Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
Adobe Acrobat, your team's home base. Collaborate within a shared PDF space. You've got your docs, your plans, your specs, and then invite the crew to build what's next. They talk up the teamwork. Here's an updated render. They think that this design could be a contender. But when somebody wonders what's the next step, AI helps you finish the rest. Bolts are tight, now your plan's refined. Run a smoother business when you're all aligned. Do that with Acrobat. Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-Acrobat.
I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
Oh, yeah, baby.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Okay.
Oh, I believe it.
So Taylor Williams, the actor who stars in Beauty and Black, her character's name is Kimmy. She did an interview with TV Line and was asked about the third and final season. I hate when interviewers ask actors to basically reveal the plot of a TV show or movie that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, what is the point of that?
But Taylor replied, I'm horrible at spoilers. I don't want to say too much. She goes on to say it's bittersweet because these people, even with how it ends, could continue on. There's a lot of different ways the story could still go. There's so much going on. So yes, it's bittersweet to know how it all shakes out. But the thing that caught my attention is she said they already filmed season 3 and that it took 6 days. And we know
for 18 hours.
We know that Tyler Perry filmed season 2, which was 16 episodes in 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if season 3 will just be 8 episodes.
It'll just be part 1 of season 3.
Well, to shoot 16 episodes in 8 days, because I was reading most network TV dramas average 8 days to film 1 episode.
Yes, but usually the quality's higher.
Of course,
mm-hmm.
But
you know, whatever. He works at breakneck speed and eventually gets around to saying something.
Of course, I'll be tuned in.
Uh-huh.
Did you read about a comedian who's being sued by a composer behind The Lion King?
No.
So I actually saw this interview. A South African comedian named Learn More Jonasi. He was on a podcast and made a joke about the song The Circle of Life.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, they have this Zulu chant that's like, Natiganya Mamagiti Baba. And I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly. But the comedian said, because he says he speaks that language, he's like, do you know what that means? And of course, the hosts are like, what? And he says, it means, look, there's a lion. Oh my God. And that clip went viral.
Uh-huh.
The composer of that song, whose name is Lebohang Morake, and he's a Grammy-winning South African composer,
mm-hmm.
he fired back saying, actually, it means all hail the king. We all bow in the presence of the king, and has filed suit in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California and is suing this comedian for $27 million.
Oh, no, sir. For a joke? Clearly it's a joke.
I think that's kind of crazy.
That's a joke.
It's a joke. And I mean, if this were to even go to trial, I feel like everyone can sue everyone.
On what basis? This movie was 1994. Like,
I understand libel and slander and all that, but a comedian making a joke on a podcast that's making fun of some song lyrics.
Sounds like someone needs money.
And of course, this comedian doesn't have the resources to fight this, so has started a GoFundMe campaign and
oh my God,
to try to raise money to cover legal fees. But this feels kind of crazy.
That's ridiculous, but okay.
But it caught my attention.
I'm so offended.
Moving on to the restaurant section, we were at the London in West Hollywood.
Oh, yes.
To see The Drama, which we have a review for,
mm-hmm.
that I was very nervous about. I was assuming we were going to get a lot of negative comments. To the contrary, people seem to enjoy our commentary
Well,
on the
that's great.
film.
Good. I like that film. But yes, we went into the London and we were deciding where to eat.
And there is a restaurant in the London called the Foxwood. And we've been there before
We have.
to see several things.
Mhm.
One time I was there for some sort of skincare thing and saw Jane Fonda, who looked amazing.
Mhm.
But we were sitting in the Foxwood.
Wait, hold up though. When we walked in the door, we got a shout out.
Oh, yes. If they're listening, someone who works there recognized us and said they enjoy our content. So if they're listening, thank you.
Always unexpected, yes.
Unexpected. And also, I was a little frazzled. So when they said something, I said thank you and hi and kept it pushing. But
I think both of us kind of do that when somebody, like, I'll run away. Like, oh, thank you,
so,
bye.
Yeah, I should have stopped and said hello, but next time. I'm sure we'll be back at the London. We ate at the Foxwood, and while we were waiting to review the menu, guess who walked in? Nia Long, and she sat directly behind you.
She did, and I was trying to relate a story about her, and you're like, shh.
I know, I said, be quiet, she's here. Coincidentally.
It was a good story. It was, yeah.
But that was cute. Anyway, the Foxwood, we ordered some beer. I got fish and chips, and you got a pizza?
Yes, as I'm wont to do.
It's a very cute space.
It's fine.
My fish and chips were interesting because the fish was fine and it was on a bed of like those mashed peas, but they were not usually when I go to like an Irish pub, which there's one near our house that's really good and I want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But usually the mashed peas are presented differently and they almost look like if you made potato salad out of peas. Like they're heartier. This was like a puree.
This looked like a smear of hummus.
Yeah, and I didn't love that was on underneath my fish because I love to douse my fried fish, this type of fish, in vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
So then while it wasn't not tasty, I think having to sort of combine my fish and vinegar with this pea hummus was interesting. Moreover, the chips were basically these rectangular cubes of potato.
We've eaten, was it at the Linden where we got the duck fries or whatever that were in the same shape as those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. So I like steak fries, but they're the right size that they can get cooked all the way through. So they're crunchy on the outside and mushy on the inside. These were a little too thick.
They're like railroad ties.
Yeah, I didn't, because when they're that thick, they stay hot forever. Yes. So it was hard to eat them. I had to wait for them to cool down. I didn't love that. And then your pizza, it has some kind of meat on it that I've never had venison, but that's what I imagine venison would taste like.
It was sausage. Venison has a distinct flavor.
Would I eat there again? Yeah, because it's the only option at the London.
Well, we could have walked somewhere, but
well, and parking there and
it is what it is.
It's a little complicated.
You don't really like to valet.
I hate to valet park.
Mm-hmm.
But on that day, my car was being serviced, so I had a loaner vehicle. So I'm like, whatever.
You like, take this trash.
Take this thing. I don't even like this car. But when it's my personal vehicle, there's something about having some stranger get in my car and just like take it somewhere. And I don't know. It just really bothers me.
You feel more strongly about that than the cat, or if we had a child, I think.
Yeah.
Take this damn kid.
And then I tried... There's a new space called Boulange, and I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. We tried to go one night. It's in the space where Genghis Cohen was.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I went, and it's interesting because it feels like a really sort of fancy coffee shop.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. We were looking for food. We were scrounging that night.
Well, and we didn't end up going in because we were very confused about the menu because it looked like it only served like coffee shop, like pastries and coffee, but then it was open late. So we were thrown off by the menu and the way it looked.
Not that we don't eat pastries late. But,
but we wanted food.
Yes.
And I don't know if the menu, because this was like 2 months ago when we went. So I don't know if their menu has evolved, but when I went, they had a full menu. Like you could have lunch and dinner.
Maybe it has. It is a swiftly tilting planet. That's a Madeleine L'Engle reference.
It was cute. I ordered something that I'd never had before, and I couldn't even pronounce what it was on the menu. And the gentleman who helped me also was like, I don't know how to say it either, but
my God.
but it's good.
Well, now I'm curious.
Well, I would go back today just to get this thing. So basically it was
Item number 5.
It was a big, what it looked and tasted like was if you made a really thick pancake out of cornmeal, and that came on one plate. So it was a pretty big portion. And on another plate, it was just like a bed of honey, some sort of Greek yogurt, and mint. And then you eat, of course, that with this bread. But it was so good. So good. And then I had wine. The prices are what you would expect. It's on Fairfax and Melrose, and it's a kind of a trendy spot. But it was very cute. It'd be a cute space just to go and, like, you know, if you wanted to work on your computer and have a glass of wine and a little nosh.
And stare at the people.
Moving on, films released we didn't cover. The Super Mario Galaxy movie.
Yep, we did. We had an invite to that press screening. I think we were both like, nah.
Well, I was like, oh, is this the first? I recalled that there was a Super Mario movie, but I'm so disconnected from it that I thought that this was the first movie.
No, it's not.
And then realizing that it isn't, I'm like, well, I don't want to see this one because I didn't see the first one. And apparently that was a good choice because this new one is not well received.
It's making oodles of money, however, which I could care less. But yeah, I just have no interest. Apparently, Donald Glover campaigned to be Yoshi.
Okay. Moving on to projects of interest. Bonfire of the Vanities.
Matt Reeves is turning this into a miniseries.
Oh, we reviewed Bonfire of the Vanities.
Yeah, we
recently.
Yes, we did, because I was in that. I recorded a segment in a documentary on Bruce Willis for German television, and that was in preparation for that.
Oh, that should be coming out soon.
I think he was, well, it's April. I feel like by the end of the year, I'll be dubbed in German, most likely. And
oh, that's right. He said that it would probably be submitted to the network by May.
Which I forgot that happened already till we just... Anyway, I enjoyed the Brian De Palma film, but it is a mess and the casting is terrible. So I'm curious to see... And you know what? I always wanted to read the book by Tom Wolfe, and now I will have another opportunity to make that happen for myself. And that could be interesting. That could be really interesting.
42.6 years.
This is a new feature that's being directed by Michael Schwartz, who directed The Peanut Butter Falcon. And it stars Annette Bening and Andy Samberg. And it's a rom-com. And the plot, and it's from the guy who wrote The Menu, Seth Reese. And it is about a man that's cryogenically frozen for, as the title suggests, 42.6 years. And then when he wakes up, he tries to reconnect with his girlfriend. But of course, she has aged naturally, and it's Annette Bening.
Lastly, Perversion of Justice.
Perversion of Justice. Oh, there's a Jeff Epstein series now in the works based on the book by Julie K. Brown, the Miami Herald reporter. And Laura Dern is going to star in it. And that's it.
This past week on Patreon, we dropped several reviews. One for Harriet Craig, a movie about a bossy Joan Crawford, if you can believe that.
Mm-hmm.
The Money Pit, a Tom Hanks vehicle that has the funniest laugh I've ever heard.
You were quite tickled, yes.
And if you listen to that episode, you can hear that laugh.
Mm-hmm.
We reviewed a short film called The Chair, and we have a review for the Isabelle Huppert film Time of the Wolf, which is free to anyone. So
Yes.
join us on Patreon.
Please do.
Unfortunately, there are several entries in the obituaries section. First, Dee Freeman, an actress known for her role on The Young and the Restless. She died at 66 after lung cancer diagnosis. We have Alex Duong. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He died at the age of 42 after a year-long bout with cancer. I think he's best known for a show called Blue Bloods and also being on Jeff Ross's Roast Battle.
Oh, okay.
An actor, Ed Bernard, died at the age of 86. He's known for his roles in Policewoman, The White Shadow, and Across 110th Street.
Across 110th Street. That's a great film.
Lastly, Mary Beth Hurt died at the age of 79.
Yes, she did.
And we'll be talking about her work a little bit later in this episode.
Oh, yes.
But
just around the river bend, baby.
What are your thoughts on Mary Beth Hurt?
I mean, I am a fan of World According to Garp, and the film we're going to talk about shortly. As she aged, she had a lot of interesting roles. And one that always goes back to, or comes up in my mind, is this film she did in 2006 with a really great cast, but it's a really depressing film called The Dead Girl, which I kind of want to rewatch that in the near future. But basically, this woman is missing, and it's kind of all the people surrounding that incident. And Mary Beth Hurt plays a woman who's married to the murderer, because the murderer has this storage facility where he's got, I believe, if my memory serves correct, where the corpse is. Anyhow, yeah, I mean, she was just somebody whose name always came up for me as a kid, and I would often get her confused with Mary Kay Place, name wise only. But yeah, it's sad.
I was looking at pictures of her because I didn't recognize her, and she was giving me Anne Heche.
Yeah, I could see that. She was kind of this pointy, thin white woman, but she always, I like Anne Heche too, but Anne Heche was always kind of combative and outspoken. Mary Beth Hurt always was a bit demure, in my opinion. Like me.
Ugh, I don't have the energy for this.
Oh, I do have one more death to add.
Okay.
James Gadson. He was a legendary drummer and worked with Diana Ross, amongst many other people, but he was 86.
Not featured in TV and film.
No, but
okay.
I received a message about that.
But goodbye to him.
Goodbye to Mr. Gadson. I mean, it's a Diana Ross connection. Come on.
The secret film this week was your choice, and you chose the 1978 American drama Interiors, written and directed by a Woody Allen.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about? 3 sisters find their lives spinning out of control in the wake of their parents' sudden, unexpected divorce. Why did you choose this movie?
Well, it is my favorite Woody Allen film, although the last time that I watched it was the day that one bridge collapsed in Minneapolis. So I've been wanting to rewatch it and still see if I felt the same way. And also, it was a great occasion. It was Mary Beth Hurt passed away this week, and this was her film debut.
Oh.
And you have seen her before. We have a Patreon review out there for The World According to Garp, so you are familiar with her. I sometimes mix her name up with Mary Kay Place, but I do know the distinct difference between both of those wonderful women. And yeah, so that was the occasion. And of course, we lost Diane Keaton recently. But yeah, I love this film.
The Ozarks, it's more than a place, it's a feeling. Here at Silver Dollar City, it's the feeling we get from creating, discovering, and putting on a show. It's that powerful spark we get from exploring something old and experiencing something new. Plan your visit to America's #1 theme park today. Silver Dollar City, the heart of the Ozarks.
Looking for a protein shake that tastes as good as it performs? Meet Rockin' Protein Max. Packed with 50 grams of fuel, it'll help you keep up when your day won't slow down. And because it's always creamy and never chalky, every sip tastes great. Even better, it's lactose-free and has 0 added sugar. It's not every day you find a protein shake you actually want to finish. Catch Rockin' Protein in the dairy cooler at a store near you. Rockin' Protein and Shamrock Farms are registered trademarks of Shamrock Foods Company.
The story is basically what I read. There are these 3 sisters. They live in New York. They're obviously well-to-do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're dealing with their parents' separation, which is led by the father. And we'll get into these characters,
Mm-hmm.
but the parents ultimately get divorced. The father finds a new wife. And then we see kind of all the drama that unfolds related to that. Also, these sisters have personal drama within their own relationships and with each other.
Yes, the family dynamics and dysfunctional attachments they all share with the parents and themselves, I think, is expertly hewn.
Everyone knows Woody Allen. I understand this is his first full drama.
Yeah, and I don't know that he's ever made anything so stark since. There was a big gamble. I think he was very anxious about it. It ended up being nominated for 5 Oscars, and he got a Best Director nod. Maureen Stapleton and Geraldine Page were both nominated. This is, of course, following up on 1977's Annie Hall, which won Best Picture and Best Actress Academy for Diane Keaton. There are some that come close. I think this is you could call September, which we have a review out there for that with Elaine Stritch and Mia Farrow.
Oh, yes.
And that's a drama too, I guess. Maybe Sweet and Low Down. He has some, but nothing feels, even September doesn't feel as depressing as this film does to me. It kind of belies what Woody Allen really wanted to be. I don't think he wanted to just be in comedy. He wanted to be like Ingmar Bergman, and this clearly is an homage to Ingmar Bergman, as well as Chekhov. And Anna Faris, I just saw some clip of her this week kind of bemoaning the fact that she had a hard time reconciling that people were going to view her as a comedic actor when she felt like that was not her. So it's very curious, because I think comedy also requires a significant talent that a lot of people do not have. And I think that you can go back and forth. If you're good at comedy, I think you're good at drama. That's kind of how I see it. Anyhow, yeah.
Should I go through the full story?
Do it.
The film opens with Arthur,
played by E.G. Marshall, who you should at least recognize from the film Creepshow, having all those cockroaches poke out of his body in the end.
He's the patriarch of this family, and he has his two daughters, two of the three, sitting at the dining room table with the mother, Eve, played by
a magnificent Geraldine Page. And as a side note, Woody Allen wanted Ingrid Bergman, who was filming, she had to turn it down because she was filming Autumn Sonata with Ingmar Bergman. And Ingrid Bergman and Geraldine Page were up against each other at the Oscars that year. They lost to Jane Fonda for Coming Home.
Arthur tells Eve he wants a separation. We should probably break down these characters. Interestingly, Arthur, the father, he seems to have the least characterization beyond just being the breadwinner who has spent his life married to this woman and raising their children and providing for them.
I think it's interesting. The first shot we get of E.G. Marshall is the back of his head speaking, which I think is signifying he has turned his back on what has come before.
But Eve is emotionally fragile, to say the least. But outwardly, she's very composed. I have to say, the cinematography and the set design, it's beautiful.
Oh, so Gordon Willis was the usual cinematographer for Woody Allen back then. And he was really great at, and I've talked about him before, filming kind of darkness. Another side note is initially the project was called Windows, and Diane Keaton suggested Interiors, which I agree fits much better. But then Gordon Willis, the one movie he directed was called Windows, that lesbian exploitation film with Elizabeth Ashley and Talia Shire. So I think that is an interesting connection. But yes, and you just watched another Gordon Willis work in The Money Pit. He shot that film as well, which also starred Maureen Stapleton.
There are a lot of neutral tones, a lot of beiges and off-white. It feels very, I would say, like clinical.
Clinical, like this family.
Minimalist.
Yeah. This family has been drained of their blood.
Eve seems like she just retreats into what she knows best, which is being controlling. And also a big character trait for her is design.
Yes.
We see she's very fussy about interior design.
She's kind of like a spider.
The three daughters. Renata is played by Diane Keaton.
Yes.
She seems, we understand that she's quote unquote the most talented.
She has received critical acclaim for her poetry and other publications.
And we'll get to her relationship with her husband, but she's more analytical, distant. We have Joey, played by
Mary Beth Hurt.
She seems deeply affected and very insecure. And then we have Flynn, the youngest daughter, played by
Kristin Griffith.
She's an actor who is certainly the least burdened of the trio and is much more easygoing.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into it, but it's probably because she has a lot of distance from the family. She's shooting TV movies and working in Hollywood.
Yes, and she seems the happiest.
After the separation, Eve attempts suicide.
Mm-hmm.
She tapes off all the windows in the house and turns the gas on.
Mm-hmm.
So that sets the tone for, I think, the level of emotional weight we're going to be dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur, the dad, begins a new relationship with a lady named Pearl.
Played by a fabulous a scene stealer, Maureen Stapleton.
And she is the opposite of Eve. She's
wearing,
boisterous, warm.
Yes. This is a reference to George Cukor's The Women. She's jungle red.
I could see someone saying she's unrefined. I did not think she was unrefined. I found her to be comfortable in her own skin and really authentic.
That is the thing. But she is painted in a way at the dinner scene where she's introduced to us and the two eldest sisters and their husbands as kind of low class, low brow.
Well, because they're all painfully pretentious.
Oh, God.
And we need to get into all of that.
Waspy.
But of course, Eve, finding out that her estranged husband is seeing someone else, devastates her. And specifically, Joey finds Pearl to be like vulgar and chaotic. Like she seems to just really not like her.
She calls her a vulgarian.
But they're forced to confront the contrast between the lady their dad is seeing versus their mother, because Pearl has injected life and spontaneity, joy into their father's life.
She's vivacious, yeah.
While Eve, I mean, everything about their mother just screams like repression and silence and order.
She's a black hole. Even her hair, which is this tight, would you call that a bun? Or,
yeah, like a French twist. She just looks so...
A vampiress. I had a friend in college, she lived with me for a while, and then of course we had to keep up because... propinquity. She had her hair like that and looked like a spinster in her late 20s.
It's a very deliberate hairstyle. It just reads as uptight.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Renata, Diane Keaton's character. She's married to this smarmy man.
Frederick, played by Richard Jordan, who I think is quite good in this.
He is, and they are having difficulty because her husband is also a writer, but his career is failing, while she is receiving critical praise and is forcing herself to minimize her talent to not upset her husband. But he's a dink, and we'll get to it.
Yes.
Joey is married to a young, cute Sam Waterston.
Yeah, he is super sweet.
And he seems to tolerate all of these shenanigans the best, but Eve is very involved in their lives because she's constantly over there trying to get them to buy new stuff for their house. And it seems like their finances won't allow that. Or it seems like Sam Waterston's character wants to run his family his way.
It's a couple things. Yeah. In order to keep Eve busy and her mind off her tragic shell of a life, they're allowing her to go out and curate very expensive bric-a-brac that they can't really afford.
Well, and I get the sense that Eve can't afford to buy it for them. So she's kind of doing that thing where it's like, I could see my mom doing that. Where it's like, well, I'll buy it for you anyway because I want you to have it and you have to put it here where I told you to. And
it's such an exquisite, unique piece. It's like, oh my God, it's as a word that is used against her in this film, perverse.
But Joey seems to be struggling with feeling like she has no identity or purpose. There's also this idea that when they were younger, the father favored Joey.
And the mother favored Renata.
So they both have feelings about that. Interestingly, though, it is Joey who feels most responsible to the mother.
Yes.
And she really resents that.
Yes, she does, because she can't stand her ass. But it's kind of middle child syndrome.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And then Flynn is just doing her thing, avoiding the family.
Right.
Okay. The family gathers at their beach house, and this is where they meet Pearl. And it's a turning point because Joey confesses that she feels like a failure compared to her sisters. Renata admits that she has her own insecurities, and those cracks are beginning to show.
Renata's interesting because she's constantly having to minimize herself, both as a woman and kind of as an eldest child, trying to kind of keep everything copacetic, if you will. I think it's really telling her arguments with Richard Jordan, because his latest publication is a failure, and he's competitive with her and jealous, and he's telling her that the critics, you're the critics' darling. And she's like, oh, they go easy on me because I'm a woman.
Arthur, the dad, tells everyone he's planning on marrying Pearl.
Immediately.
They've only known each other for like a month. Of course, Renata's concerned, like, you're a rich man. Don't you think this woman with 2 previous dead husbands might be using you? He says, no, I'm not stupid. She makes me feel alive. Of course, Joey's upset. Like, you know how this is going to affect Mother. And we can get into what this man's responsibility should be to this woman who he has separated from. Of course, when Eve finds out, she is unable to cope and is sort of becoming increasingly more detached. And then we get to the wedding, and the wedding is at the beach house. It's a light affair because it's just the family minus Eve. And then they have a little reception that's kind of awkward because the only one with any life is Pearl.
Yes.
And Joey in particular doesn't like it. But Eve shows up
at the break of dawn
and basically shows up and decides to walk out onto the beach, walks into the ocean, and kills herself.
It's very Joan Crawford and humoresque, yes. It also reminds me of Virginia Woolf's The Waves in a lot of tangential ways.
The film ends with a funeral, and Pearl, despite sort of being treated like an outsider, does show genuine warmth towards everyone.
Yeah.
And the daughters seem to connect in a way that's more honest than we had seen them before.
Well, ironically, Pearl saves Joey's life.
Yeah, we'll get to all that. But I don't, the ending is sad, and I don't even know that I think it's hopeful. I don't think these sisters...
I don't think it is, but there's some respite. There's a calm.
There's some relief, yes.
Yes, because the metaphor is, these roiling waves we see through most of it. After Geraldine Page dies, the 3 sisters, I love that shot, and it's also used in the poster art, where the 3 sisters are looking out the window, and Joey comments, the waves are calm, and Renata simply says yes, because the turmoil of their lives has disappeared for the moment.
Let me start by getting through some of my notes. At a point, Joey finds out she's pregnant. And as the audience, when we hear this, it's her sort of flippantly telling it to her husband, Sam Waterston. And her reaction is like, not only does she not want this kid, but she's angry about it. And how can we be so stupid? And the husband's just trying to be supportive, like, well, whatever you want to do, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And it's just, she has so much resentment, I think, towards her childhood and not feeling like she has any purpose. And it's so interesting because this family is rich.
They're rich and they have the world at their fingertips, and most of them working in the industry that seems to bring them pleasure, and they are also unfulfilled.
Yeah. Maureen Stapleton is so good in this movie as Pearl. When we first meet her, like you said, she shows up in this vibrant red dress, and she's warm and chatty without being obnoxious. And the siblings and their spouses, well, really it's just Frederick, because Sam Waterston's character is nice, but they're just being pretentious because they all saw a show and they're all trying to analyze it and be intellectuals. And she's just like, well, I didn't get all that. I don't read too much, but
she's like, it's really pretty simple. You don't squeal. Right.
One character squealed on the other, and I just don't think you should squeal. Am I missing something?
The rest of them are holding their wringing their hands, being like, but how does one know how to do the right thing? And Pearl goes, well, you feel it.
But first, they're asking her questions, trying to size her up, and she's very comfortable in her skin. And she talks about, I have 2 dead husbands, because she goes, oh, my first husband. And then she talks about her next husband. And I think it's Renata, who's like, well, how many have you had? And she said, just 2. And then she's like, well, the first one died from alcohol abuse, and the second one died from a heart attack, which is funny because Arthur's sitting there and she's just like, drink up. And he talks about having some cheesecake, and she says something really interesting.
She's like, you'd live to 100 if you didn't do all the things you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And she has some other line, like, no, she says, you only live once, but if you do it right, that's all you need.
Yeah. But she talks about her own children, and it just seems like they have happy lives. Specifically, she talks about one who runs an art gallery. And of course, Renata and Frederick are like, oh, well,
Where?
She's like, oh, it's a gallery inside the mall at Caesar's Palace in Vegas. So of course they're like, oh, so it's like trash. But then she's like, yeah, it's junk, but people like it. And I think it's Joey who goes, oh, like paintings on black velvet or
clowns
something.
on black velvet. And she's like, yeah, junk, but he makes a lot of money.
Yeah, and he likes it. And
right.
So I just thought, oh, and what's interesting is the men seem captivated by her because she brings a very different energy than their wives. To the point where when the dad says he's going to marry her, the men are downstairs playing cards with Pearl. Like she does a magic trick and she says something about how she reads tarot cards and they seem very intrigued by her.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a very different energy than they're used to. When the dad is explaining he's going to marry her and he's getting the negative reaction from his daughters, he says, I'm not just here to make sacrifices and foot the bill.
Uh-huh.
And I thought,
heard that.
It's kind of like this man endured this long marriage, this long suffering marriage with this woman who clearly has mental health issues that by today's standards would be difficult to manage. But you think back then it's like, what, just keep her in therapy all the time? And
well, I mean, that's what's so depressing about this, because I can see and how a lesson in not letting your life be defined by guilt. I can see Eve's perspective as well.
When he announces he wants a separation, he wants to say it in front of not only his wife, but two of his daughters, because Flynn is never around. And I thought the way he said it, while I would have probably had a private conversation, I feel like knowing his wife, he figured this is not something I can say twice.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off.
So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. But he says it in a very, I think, honest and gentle way. That he's tried and he's been here.
He doesn't regret anything.
But he's not happy and he feels like it's time for him to enjoy his life. And he thinks he can only do that if he's not here with them. Specifically his wife.
And the thing is, when you really love somebody and they're saying that to you, you should want them to be happy. But Eve is a deep, dark pit of a person.
Well, and then we hear her say that she basically put him through law school. He made his money by being a successful attorney and having his own firm.
Oh, Renata, when she's being analyzed by her therapist, she says that, yeah.
Oh, yes.
My father is my mother's creation. And again, that is something that's a mammoth of a guilty tip that defines them. But that doesn't mean you're indebted forever, does it?
Well, this is not a Bernadine and waiting to exhale situation where I made this man and then he's going to leave me for some other bitch and doesn't even want to pay me, like, give me what I deserve.
And is doing it behind my back.
Right. Arthur it's very clear that Arthur is going to continue to provide Eve with the lifestyle she's grown accustomed to. He's telling her she can stay in this house.
Yes.
Like, money is not the issue. So I kind of feel like it's unfair to say, well, my father is my mother's creation. Yeah, and she's going to reap the rewards of that. She's lived a very nice life. She will continue to. He's not going to throw her out on the street.
And he stayed with her another 30 plus years,
Right. So I feel like it's a powerful story that's packaged in this, at first glance you think, oh, here are these rich white folks on the beach complaining about all these things that are like, y'all just trying to find something to be upset about. But in reality, I think it's interesting when you have the time and the resources to sort of constantly think about your unhappiness and talk about it with an analyst, as they would have said in 78.
And maybe that unhappiness can deepen.
Well, or yes, but specifically, I'm thinking that some people, I mean, I know people today who, like they're trust fund babies and they have all the resources to sort of live a life of leisure and speak to a therapist all the time, and they make no progress. And sometimes I feel like it's partially because they don't have to.
There's that. And I think also, especially in this period, when it was fashionable to have a therapist, and I'm using the word fashionable on purpose because that's something that people with money did. And okay, so I have a master's degree in social work, and all of the language and all of those classes I took was, or that was kind of beat over the head with, is that therapy is not supposed to last forever unless there's a condition. Like you're supposed to have some resolution somewhere. And these are people that seem to be defined by their unhappiness, by the illness, so that they cling to it. They don't want to separate from what the problem is. They don't want to make it better.
Not to say that a woman like Eve, who was married in they got married in the late 40s, early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different time,
Yes.
and she probably felt like she didn't have the freedom to explore her own interests. And then she's a mother of 3. I'm sure managing this big life, because I'm sure when those girls were kids, they all had their own extra career. Like, she managed a family for a long time. So that took up all her space, and I'm sure she loved that. She seems like she loved being the homemaker and the mother. But, it's sad to see that she didn't get a chance to actually find something that would make her happy. But I think that's the sadness and the control that mental illness has on people.
Well, one of the telling things she says is, I can't be alone. And I think that's something that's easily felt when you define your existence through your relationship with others.
Geraldine Page is so good in this role.
Excellent.
She reminded me a lot of myself in some ways. But I also feel like I can see aspects of her character in a lot of people I know today, sort of defining themselves by their misery. Aside from the clear mental health issues she has, it's just like she doesn't want to do anything differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, I don't know how you're going to feel better if you don't make some changes.
And it's funny, Stapleton and Page, this film was before they would go on to both win Oscars. You've seen Geraldine Page. I think we have a live review out there for Whatever Happened to Aunt Alice.
Mm-hmm.
She's in my favorite Don Siegel movie with Clint Eastwood, The Beguiled, Sweet Bird of Youth. And she won her Oscar for The Trip to Bountiful, of course, in I believe 1985. Maureen Stapleton would win Best Supporting Actress in 1981 for Reds, which is a really long film, but now, and I haven't watched that since I was a little kid because my mom had the 2-set VHS tape. But yeah, Paige, who was married to Rip Torn, I think is absolutely fantastic in this. And you know what else is interesting? She was nominated for Best Actress, and I think there's only one other performance in that category that has less screen time. She's only in this movie for like 20 plus minutes, but she feels so omnipresent.
I know what I was thinking specifically with saying that Pearl, Geraldine's character, I see attributes of her in some people today, specifically not wanting to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
And what a trap that is.
Yeah. If anybody that's feels like they're, because I think in my 20s I felt that way too. And it took me fostering a love and a care for myself. And I think when you become comfortable in your own skin, you realize how necessary alone time is for each and every one of us. But we are all social creatures. So it's we each have our own balance. I mean,
oh yeah,
yes, we do. And that's why there's introvert, extrovert. What's the other new category? Outrovert, which I think we're both more of whatever I read the definition of that was.
Outrovert?
Yeah.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
What is the definition of outrovert? Let me see here. Oh, this term was coined in 2025. It describes individuals who are socially capable and warm, yet feel like perpetual outsiders who do not feel a strong sense of belonging to any group.
That's exactly how I feel.
That's exactly how I am.
Because I love going out, and I mingle between a lot of different groups of people, but I don't feel part of that. And I don't really want to be either, because when you feel like you're part of a group, I also feel the pressure that I'm indebted to perform some kind of function, and I don't like that either.
I've learned over the years, because I often get the feedback of like, oh no, because I'll say like, oh, I'm not really interested in that group. Or like, I don't feel like I belong to that group. And people's response is usually like, oh no, they would like you. And it's like, no, you don't understand. I don't belong there because I don't, like, that's not me, girl. Like, I don't want.
Also, when I have participated peripherally in a group, like friends that are groups that have these years-long relationships, that I don't like group mentality. I don't like mob rule, and I think it just happens by default. Is this kind of pressure to kind of make everything smooth and operational, and I don't really like that, because I often disagree with a lot of things that I hear, and then the more you do, they kind of push you out if you do that too much. So I just recuse myself.
I think that's why I don't have a lot of friends, because if you start talking to me too much and saying the same thing, like the same bullshit all the time, and then I have to check you, and now you don't want to be around me anymore.
Yeah, you do that.
I've lost a lot of friends over just, I'm gonna keep it real. Don't tell me something and think I'm just gonna sit there and go, oh, that makes sense.
Usually I'll try to soften the blow a little bit by, in maybe more of a circuitous way, by trying to highlight a different way of thinking to see if they take the bait. And when they do, I guess that's in my flotsam and jetsam in my brain to keep things copacetic. But the people that just don't get it, then, there we have it.
Moving on, when Arthur is trying to tell Eve about his new relationship, he takes her to a church. And I think my favorite scene
is the church.
You
know what? And that's preceded by Maureen Stapleton talks about going on vacation with one of her ex-husbands and how they were just, all they wanted to do is look at these old cathedrals and churches. And she's like, once you see one or two, they're all the same.
Well, I mean, she really is. Pearl is the exact opposite of Eve.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's like, of course, this man would want to be with a woman who's the opposite of the wife he lived in misery with for decades.
Right.
But gosh, Geraldine's acting, like her facial expressions and the way she is responding to what he's saying. And then finally she just loses it and knocks down all these candles at the church.
She does distress really well, and she knows how to ramp it up. It starts with these subtle expressions, a turn of the tone of her voice, and she's doing this and if she's not black, she's wearing beige, and she's got those beige gloves on, and she's clutching at her face. It's excellent. And then I thought it was interesting that she brings E.G. Marshall to this church and says, oh, I wanted you to come early to see these mosaics. You don't have to travel to see mosaics. And before it's all cluttered with people.
Ugh. Speaking of breaking things, at the wedding reception, which is, pretty slim affair, the only person really having fun is Pearl. And she likes music. The first time she says, can I put on music? They look at her like, we have a record player today?
Yeah.
Like, you can tell their life was void of any color.
Yes.
In fact, Maureen Stapleton's character Pearl, when we first meet her and she's just talking about herself, she's like, oh, I love African art and I love African things. And she talks about, she has all these
voodoo dolls
and statues
with big breasts and boobs.
Yeah, with big hips and boobs.
Which is cringy, but I think that signifies that this person is open and interested in other cultures that feel alive as well. And
by today's standards, you would give her a side eye. But I think by the standards of the period, she reads as someone who has a spice for life, and she's showing that she's interested in other things besides this little, because the title of the movie, Interiors, means a lot of things to me. But I think we also see that this family unit outside of Pearl, even those two husbands, they all feel like they're just so preoccupied with this little bubble they've created.
Yes, they are interiorized in every way.
And then you have this woman who is bold and loud, not obnoxiously loud, but
No, I didn't think. She's not. That she easily could have been a caricature, but she's not. She feels very human and warm and empathetic. The juxtaposition of Maureen Stapleton and the rest of these people. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the quote, but Janis Joplin said something about how white people are so rigid because they don't allow themselves to feel.
Well, you can say that. Anyway,
it's a Joplin quote. It's Joplin.
I was saying that Pearl at the reception, she puts on music and starts dancing, and everyone's just staring at her like, oh, look at this crazy lady. And Joey is seething.
Well, what kind of was poignant is Flynn, she goes up to Flynn and they dance together, and then she tries to do that with Joey and she shirks.
Yeah, but getting back to breaking something, Pearl accidentally breaks a vase and Joey screams at her.
She calls her an animal.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm sure it's difficult because Joey specifically feels like she's been burdened with taking the brunt of caring for her mother. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another theme is, how responsible are we to our spouses, to our parents, to our children, to our, loved ones, friends, other family members. Like, how responsible, how deep does this have to go? Like, how committed do I have to be?
That's each for us to decide
Right.
on our own, and not the pressures of the culture around us that say, no, you always have to do this. It's like, well, actually, no, they treat me like shit, so I'm gone. Bye. But what's another theme here is a universal human aspect to this is we chase the people that deny us validation. Because both Renata and Joey, they're chasing after the parents that kind of denies them feeling good about themselves. Renata's so bitter that all E.G. Marshall wants to talk about is what a failure Joey is. And when he asks for his daughter's approval, Renata gives it willingly and Joey withholds.
So Flynn doesn't have much to do, but she has one integral scene because during the festivities of the wedding, she goes out to some car that has cocaine in it.
I was like, who drove this here and who's keeping that cocaine in the glove box?
Whose car is this? Whose cocaine is it? But she does a bump and seems to be enjoying it when all of a sudden Frederick walks in, Renata's husband. And we had already seen that he seems a little inappropriate with his sister-in-law.
He talks about how good looking she is.
And he proceeds to sexually assault her.
Yeah. I mean, because at first I was thinking, you'll see a version of this later in Hannah and Her Sisters with Michael Caine doing that to his wife's sister. But I did not remember that she pushed back on him so forcefully in this.
Yeah. Flynn has to get this man off of her and runs back into the house.
Got that coke strength.
And before maybe she could have said anything about it, it's overshadowed by the mother killing herself. But
see, I think she didn't scream in that scene for help because she felt kind of culpable because she was flirty with him.
I thought that too, that she figured like she could just chalk it up to the game and not cause drama.
Mm-hmm.
But before Eve walks into the ocean, Joey is sitting in like the living room in the dark, and her mother has snuck into the house and she's standing in the corner like the Blair Witch.
Like a specter. I love that shot of Geraldine Page when she turns and half her face is covered. Like she's like a vampire.
And Joey just confronts her saying that, I think you're sick and you're miserable and you never made any space for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom doesn't say anything. And that's when she kind of just...
But she says, I love it. She's like, I guess we're going to have to... We need to forgive each other, but she says, I love you.
Yes.
And then Maureen Stapleton comes down because she heard voices. And all of a sudden, we don't see Geraldine Page anymore. And Mary Beth Hurt says, mother. And Maureen Stapleton answers, yes.
Yeah. Joey's confused. And Pearl said, well, you said mother. So I said, yes. Like, technically, I am your stepmother.
Yeah, but also like, yeah, bitch.
But I'm trying to be here for you, girl.
Right.
So some symbolism. You already mentioned the ocean. I think the biggest thing is once Eve kills herself, we see the stillness in the water, the interior spaces, I think reflect the household this family grew up in, like the metaphorical household, and sort of the, it reflects Eve's psyche, which is cold and curated. Like there's no warmth. It's
well, they're in the motif of looking out of windows. I mean, we're looking in on them per se, but they're all looking out. Like they're in this beach house that's basically a tomb and they're trapped. It's kind of like August Wilson's Fences, right? The theme of, is this to keep us locked in or keep others locked out? And Chekhov was a big inspiration on this particular Woody Allen film, notably Three Sisters, of course, the title. But it reminds me of my favorite Chekhov play, which is The Cherry Orchard, in the end of that, where this location defined this once illustrious family now being kind of torn down, being torn asunder around them. And that's kind of what this beach house represents, is things will never be the same and they're completely fractured, but maybe in a good way.
And then we have these dinner scenes. We have a few, and typically when you think a dinner scene, you would see characters connecting and communicating, but in these instances, they're failing to really connect. They're talking about, intellectual things, but they're not really.
Well, at Geraldine Page's birthday, where first she starts sobbing about her life is meaningless, and then we go to presents, and then drinks after opening them. And Richard Jordan has his new book. Diane Keaton, his wife, is trying to butter him up, and he spits back at her. You said the exact same thing about my last one. You didn't like anything about that either. And there's a publication that people might be interested. I haven't read it yet, called Lives of the Wives, and it documents 5 notable literary marriages, including between Patricia Neal and Roald Dahl, and about how all of these women, as soon as they were kind of getting a professional or critical shine, the husbands just could not take that. And he is just so bitter about it. It's most of this movie is uncomfortable to watch, and that was extremely uncomfortable.
It's also uncomfortable seeing all of the double talk. It's like these people, the sisters, it's like they can't receive a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
They give backhanded compliments. They shade each other to each other, but then in front of the other, they'll say the opposite. It's kind of painful.
It's painful. And then because Flynn, everybody thinks she's in stupid TV movies or things you watch on a plane, and what trash, like what a waste of time she is. But as soon as she arrives, you're so beautiful. We wish you could look like you. And then Diane Keaton telling her youngest sister about how talented she is, and we know she doesn't think that. It's like, oh, so I believe your husband. You aren't being honest with how you feel about his writing.
Yeah. And then the style of the film, there's no musical score, except for the one time we hear Pearl put on some music. But I think that obviously amplifies the sterility and discomfort in this environment. And then the camera work, I feel like there are a lot of like still shots.
I love in the end when Geraldine walks into the ocean, Mary Beth Hurt goes after her, and then Sam Waterston and Maureen Stapleton are involved. But the rest are sleeping in the house, and we get all these cuts of the drowning happening with those that are still sleeping.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I don't know, I found that incredibly beautiful.
And the most obvious thing to me were the muted colors.
Yes.
It's just a nightmare in beige. Like it just, would I like to live in a space like that? Absolutely. But to live in a space like that and also have
no passion,
have these vibes would be soul deadening.
Exactly. I wouldn't want that. I would rather struggle and feel contentedness or happiness at some point. To live like that, absolument pas. And of course, you might not remember it by title alone, but my favorite Ingmar Bergman film is Cries and Whispers, and we have a podcast out there for that with Liv Ullmann and Ingrid Thulin. And then they have the sister dying, and they all hate each other, and then they're in this beautiful palatial estates. But I don't know. I just love. I apparently have a theme of things I love, and of course, it reminds me of Shakespeare's King Lear a bit, with the 3 sisters and the 2 older ones, Regan and Goneril, who are vying for
gonorrhea.
I always thought Goneril sounded like gonorrhea, but Regan and Goneril, it's like a pretty version of gonorrhea. They are vying for the estate of their father, who's toying with them, and the youngest daughter, Cordelia, is the one that's having nothing of it. So that dynamic is in there a bit too, if we're going to go back to where it all started from.
My takeaway from this film is being so emotionally suppressed or repressed.
A void.
Is more destructive than just having open conflict. Like, yes. I mean, communication doesn't need to be conflict, but communication can be uncomfortable and can create conflict. But I think that is more productive than just pretending.
The scene in the church, we've seen E.G. Marshall, Arthur, be forward and firm, and he is not there. He stumbles. He went to meet her to tell her he wants to finalize the divorce, right? And he couches it in a way like, what if we might have other plans? And we full well know he's planning on marrying Pearl.
Well, she even asks, are you?
And he lies. Because the shock of that kind of is like, oh, you can see him, he immediately has minimized himself in front of her. Maybe because he's afraid, but also because I think he does care for her. It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting as an observer to watch these things happen.
And then also this idea of control, because when we first meet Eve, she's come over unannounced to her daughter's home, Joey, but Sam Waterston's the one who answers the door, and he has to deal with her and wanting him to like buy this expensive vase. And it just, the moment we meet her, we see that she is a controlling individual. But I think we all know, well, I don't think we all know, but we should know that attempting to control someone just leads to
well, and they let her get away. The thing is so manipulative because they don't want to challenge her because she's emotionally fragile, and it's like that's exactly that's enabling her essentially.
Life, I think, requires, you need to have some noise, you need to have some conflict, if that's the word, like vulnerability, and then it's not going to be perfect.
Well, you know how birds where they need to.
You mean like with wings?
Yeah, not loose women.
Oh.
Amanda Seal. I'm talking about the birds in the sky. Nina Simone. They need their beaks. They need to wear them down. They need to have some kind of tension, because otherwise the beaks get too long and they can't eat. It's difficult for them. There's a metaphor for us humans as well. We need not every day can be happy. We do need conflict. We do.
And maybe I don't mean conflict as much as like we need to be challenged.
No. It's challenge. Yes, we don't need to be traumatized per se, but we need that. That's how we discover our perspectives and hone our personalities and learn how to be decent humans as well.
But yeah, I think that relates to accepting that life is imperfect. And it seems like these people are so preoccupied with everything being just precisely the way they want it that they're not only sabotaging themselves, but they don't seem to have enjoyed any bit of their life. Like when are you going to actually, the only person, I mean, besides Flynn doing her own thing, it's like the dad because how old does he say he is? Like 63?
Yeah.
He, it's like it took him 63 years. Well, I don't know. He's probably happy as a kid maybe, but it took so long for him to realize that he could find some joy.
Well, also, they're like a month. It's not long enough to know her. It's like he doesn't have that much time left either.
I don't have that much time left. And honestly, like if my month with her is any indication, I would rather enjoy a little more time with this lady. And he's not stupid. He's a lawyer. I'm sure he would set up a prenup or whatever they might have had in 78 or who knows. And Pearl doesn't seem like a gold digger.
No, she doesn't. And even if she did, I don't know, quid pro quo a little bit. I don't know. It's you feel it as Pearl says. You feel
it. Being married feels like I'm a prostitute working for very low wages. So, I mean, that's a Margaret Cho reference. Anyway, what would you give interiors?
I would add that utopia is really just a layer of hell. It's not there. It's not possible, and you wouldn't like it if you're stuck there. Again, I haven't seen it in so long, and I feel similarly about it. I love it. I love this film. It's a 5 for me.
I think it's excellent. I would give it 4 out of 5. All right. What do we have coming this week?
This week, I think we have several things coming. You, Me, Tuscany. The Soderbergh film, The Christophers.
I don't know about that.
Well, I've sent several messages and we're RSVP due a screening. So,
well, I didn't approve anything.
Well, that is on our docket for this week, and then we already
make some changes. I don't know.
Well, that's why responses need to come on a timely manner. Also, Faces of Death. We already have a recorded review of that, and then I don't know because there are several other releases, and as I said, I haven't received a response.
Well, silence speaks volumes. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Ta-ta.